I think. All right, cool. All right, everybody. Hey, what's going on, everybody? It is me, Sean Tank Top. We are over here in Casa de Tank Top, and we are joined, as you know, we got our watchers in the bar, House Burlington regulars. It's Morgan and Dustin. Say hi, guys.
Hey,
Hello.
everybody.
What's going on? And if you cannot tell, we got ourselves the most formidable beard, the most classic sense of flannel fashion. Even though I see that Dustin is fucking rocking some flannel over there too, as well.
Just plaid.
Is it plaid? Oh, wait.
It's
So,
not a proper wool.
that's true. But we got the man in flannel. We got ourselves Kyle from Azor Ahype over there. What's going on, babe?
Yeah, just loving WestWorld Season 3, man. So we've been chatting about this actually for a couple weeks, all getting together, and it's kind of the perfect time to talk about all this stuff right now. So I'm happy to be here, man. I think actually this is the first live stream we've done together, so this is really fun.
Really
Sadly, because like the cool thing is that we met each other. We met Kyle, the three of us, and the rest of the Burlington crew that came down with us. Met Kyle at Con of Thrones a couple of years back, and an absolutely fucking prolific live streamer. Like the dude's unstoppable. And I just figured like since we're in this post-pandemic YouTube like kind of world as far as creating content, we decided to dip our toes into the live stream game. I mean, it's like those 80s action movies. It's like when I told you I needed the best, I needed the best, and so
I don't have that
crew together. Are you in?
I'm not that Canadian.
That's great, but so we figured since we were going to be doing WestWorld Wednesdays, talking about season 3 spoiler discussions as each episode rolls on, I figured since you were already like all over the WestWorld game, I figured we'd see if you wanted to collaborate. And I'm really glad that you said yes, man.
Yeah, we're scissoring like Dolores and Charlotte Hale in the episode.
Oh my god, that was great. That was one of. I mean, like this whole episode has kind of been. Well, except for with us, it's purely out of love. There's a weird tension within a lot of the embraces that happen in this episode for sure.
Yeah, because at first I was like, well, maybe it's her dad in there.
Right.
Like, I don't know if he was like deleted or whatever, but I'm like, maybe it's her dad. And then when like they had the bedroom scene, I'm like, oh, I don't know if that's her dad. I hope it's not her dad.
Yeah, right. There was some. Yeah, there was definitely some weird, like, kind of possessive vibes that were going on with that scene. That were just like that were a lot of issues of control. I think
there's only so many people we can actually really think that she would be affectionate with, right? Like we're constantly, going between can hosts feel emotion or can they not? So that's a really interesting scene as far as development goes and who might be in Charlotte's body.
Totally, absolutely. Yeah.
There's also only a few people. Like at first you're like, who knows? It could be any of the hosts because she's not being super like we're best friends yet.
Right.
But then when it was like the scene where it's like we belong to each other, and I'm like, oh, it's only somebody that she's deeply connected to. So it's either family or Man in Black or Teddy or like Wyatt.
That was my initial guess in my review on Monday, but now I'm actually on the William train, and I'm going to be discussing that in the video this week.
Okay.
Yeah,
we won't give the entire gig away. Right. But totally. But well, anyway, we'll kind of go through like a little bit some of the things. I just kind of got a big kind of bullet point kind of list out of what I thought were some of the most important or interesting scenes I think that we saw in this episode today. We just kind of go through a couple of the themes that I thought were really super duper prevalent. To me, the two big things that kind of were basically in the forefront with this episode were identity and purpose. Right?
Yeah.
Like it just seems like that's what everybody, at least certainly between Caleb and Charlotte, they're both like people that are searching for a purpose or amiss in their purpose or unsure of their purpose. and i.e. their identity in some way. What would you say about that, Kyle?
Yeah, the really interesting thing is the episode title too, The Absence of Field, which is actually a reference to a poem. But yeah, the vibes I got from the episode, those were the two biggest themes for me. It was kind of this battle of determinism versus free will. We see, of course, later on in the episode when Dolores is offering Caleb the choice of taking the money or fighting in her revolution. That's something that's pretty big because Caleb, she shows Caleb's life path is pretty much projected for him that he's going to commit suicide in 10 to 12 years. And then we kind of see like a little bit of the inverse happen with Charlotte, where the absence of her is there and her family feels that. So it's like pretty interesting what's going on, the two different sides of it.
Yeah, totally. I mean, like there was, it was always, it's kind of, and it's something that they've kind of revealed as the kind of show as the show's kind of gone on, at least up to this point, that like, at least unless you are in like the top tier, like it's a very class conscious type of show. Certainly with this season, not that it wasn't before, but it's really out in front of there this time. But like it's definitely like if you basically aren't in that top tier, then your life outside in the real world isn't much different. Your story is written. It's not much different than it is for the hosts that were inside the park.
Does Natasha Bedingfield's unwritten song exist in this world?
Yeah.
Wow. Because I could imagine Dolores would be just like, that's her like theme song when she's like doing her revolution. She's like, come on, guys.
No one else can feel the rain on your skin. Yeah.
Did you guys notice the piano in one of the scenes with Charlotte and Dolores and Caleb? It's Doomed by Moses Sumney. Am I vital? Am I doomed? Am I doomed to keep on repeating these loops?
Right.
So there's kind of and Ramin. We know how Ramin Djawadi, amazing.
Yeah, totally.
If he doesn't do a somber version of Unwritten in the finale, I'm calling bullshit on Ramin Djawadi right now.
I'm totally all about it. I mean, like, that would be a really nice. They could definitely do like a nice little rendition of that for sure. I mean, like with like get some piano and some cello in there. That could be beautiful, man.
But also, Sean, to your point, I'd argue that even the top tier people, I think that's an illusion. They think that they themselves are have the free will and their determination, but this system that they've set up, I think, is almost like Frankenstein's monster is like going wild. So I think we're gonna find out that these top tier movers and shakers don't have as much free will as they believe that they do.
And even when they do break free, like we saw in the last episode where Maeve thought she was, free from the whole thing and that she had control over it and she could now, Neo through the Matrix and control the other hosts. And then she meets Serac and she realized that he built a back door into her. So we're constantly having that sense of power pulled away from people.
They were definitely having like a Matrix reloaded, like what was it? That old who was it? The old guy who looked like the Colonel from KFC in the big room full of TVs or whatever. It was kind of like that moment where it was like, no, there's another level to this. Like you thought that you were a master builder from the Lego movie, but you're not. Like I still have a lot of power over you. That's what kind of has made Serac very interesting.
Speaking of levels, the way they shoot that scene, after Serac stops her motor functions, the camera focuses on how Serac is in the position of power and she isn't, because she thinks she's like stepping up to Serac, and then Serac is like looking down at her, like and like her hair isn't moving or anything, and he's like, so the way they shoot that shot is really interesting too, because it shows that he's in a position of power over Maeve.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, like that's one thing that this show definitely like has in droves, is in like it definitely is using a lot of. It's trying to basically. It's always kind of pushing you with its themes, with its music, with its camera work and stuff like that towards like the kinds of shit, man. Like just to the ways that it wants you to feel. Okay, well, we're gonna let's move on to what I think is kind of the most fascinating element of this show, which, or at least certainly of this episode, is that who is Charlotte? who is inside Valkyrie right now? I want to know because even though I actually really I thought that her performance and the kind of pathos that they gave, that she was able to give to the role, her being so unsure, was like some of the coolest bit of kind of characterization of the host that I've seen in a long time. And I thought she did a fantastic job. But who do you guys think Charlotte is?
Before we even dive into this, I just want to say how much I'm enjoying season 3 so much more, because they really stripped it back, and it's really great how you can have a show where there's really only a couple small mysteries to be solved here right now, so it's easier to keep focus. And not all of us have gone quite as deep as Kyle has gone, and dissecting the little camera angles and stuff like that really does add a lot to this show. But and sometimes on first watch you're just like, wait, hold on, what's going on? So now you're like, okay, here's a mystery that I can latch onto. Here's something where I'm like, I can invest myself in this. Totally. And then I can go, full, yarn wall and just, dive in a little bit farther. But this is something where you're like, this is fun to speculate. This is kind of a fun, water cooler talk that even a surface level watcher of the show can get involved with, which is really nice to have that again. And they really haven't had that since probably the first quarter of season 1. Yeah,
season 1. Yeah, certainly within that that focus of just because we have a new world to explore and discover. You know what I mean?
And we're grounded in reality again too. Which that was the thing that was so great.
Or are we?
So great about season 1.
Dustin's being lulled into a false sense of security with the real world, real world that we're living in.
So that guy was spot on. I think they weren't trolling with us. It's a simulation within a simulation. That would be hilarious if that was actually the case, right?
We started with one. It's totally. That is. I will say I do hope that they kind of pulled their rug out from underneath us one time in a pretty obvious way with the war world storyline, which was super fucking fun. But I feel like I don't want them to do it that much. Right. I feel like if they overuse that hand, it's like in a Mission Impossible movie or something like that. Like, how many times are we actually going to pull off somebody's face before it kind of becomes rudimentary? You know what I mean? So I hope that if they do it again, I hope that they keep it to a minimum, maybe one, maybe 2 times more at best, but we'll see. But anyway, so I know that you got a lot of
your question. Going back to that.
Sure.
The most obvious. We talked a little bit before we started recording. That some of the obvious ones, obviously are the Man in Black or Teddy or maybe Wyatt. I do think it might be the Man in Black, only because of the whole power predator dynamic.
Yeah.
But in thinking that, it does make some of the scenes with Charlotte later on really awkward and weird.
Sure.
Not as awkward as when I thought it was her dad, though.
Right. The scissoring scene becomes really weird if it's her dad. That's for damn sure.
I'm just when they first woke her up, she was so wide-eyed, and I was like, Teddy or her dad. I wasn't thinking a sinister, Man in Black type thing.
Sure.
And then it's there's kind of this tension of we belong to each other. So I'm there's something deeper than maybe it's still Teddy, but probably Men in Black.
Yeah.
Maybe.
It's crazy because in every shot with Charlotte in the episode, there's a reflection of her.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, mirrors are a huge thing. Definitely a huge thing.
Who would you say is the mirror of Dolores?
Oh God, who's the mirror of Dolores?
I think it's William.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
because
and look at Dolores' outfit this season. At least the
she's the lady in black.
Yeah,
because
she really wants to find out where this game ends. You know what I mean? She's kind of almost now trying to crack the code of this world.
Well, all of her outfits have also all been super black, motorcycle chic.
Yeah, dude.
This episode too. So she's kind of like a Tron Man in Black.
I love it. Yeah, hell yeah.
I mean, William was waltzing around that park being wake up sheeple to the host and murdering them and shit. And now Now, Dolores is in the real world and like walking around with the humans, being like, "Wake up, sheeple! Go straight to the top."
Yeah, totally. I think there's something to that. And I think that the definitely. I mean, like, what would be the most attractive, or maybe the thing that Dolores would get off the most on would be having this kind of strange possessive, script flip with William. You know what I mean? So that might be something.
You know what's really interesting too is if we look at the Charlotte Hale scenes, especially the recording too, because there's two different versions. Like she's watching the more in-depth one later. There's more of it, but also her costumes too, because we have when she's like, "I need to see you, Dolores." She's wearing white, and then she's wearing black in that situation where she's a predator. So I think like while we saw the body being remade, I think there could be. We could be doing the mirror world thing here because it just seems so off because the conversations are so different. That one scene where when she's talking to the pedo, she's like, "I know what it's like to be me again." You know what I mean? With the pedo. That threw me off so much because in the other scenes she seems so insecure, and especially with the one in the bed, where she's the little spoon. That one, I was like, oh, okay, maybe this is a Wyatt Dolores dynamic where she says, "You belong to me." But now I'm a bit less unsure of that.
Interesting. Well, that, and also, I mean, like the other thing where it's like that other motif that Charlotte kept doing, where she kept kind of like scratching herself and like cutting herself.
See, for a second, I thought she might have been Armistice. Is that lady with a tattoo?
Oh, sure.
I thought she was like redoing her tattoo for a second, and then I'm like, but Dolores and her didn't really have a thing. So I was like, when they were like, "Oh, you belong to me," I'm like, that's not her. But that's what I thought for 1/2 second.
Right.
There's only one character who's ever self-harmed himself in the show.
Who's that?
Oh,
that's James Delos.
Yeah, when he was like,
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Dolores would kill herself because Arnold set her loop like that. But other than like cutting like that, that's the only thing I can think of.
That is a really good point, and that makes me think that whoever is in Charlotte has to be a former human.
On the board member of Delos, right? Because we don't know who that silent partner is, and Delos is getting bought out like 38% by Sirac or some shit,
so
right?
This is a human's consciousness put into a host.
Yeah,
that's not adapting well. That's I feel like
because a host. Yeah, I mean that's a good point because like a host would kind of be like, oh, like
being reset.
Yeah, right. Like this is just this is just another day, another dollar. Got to get up. Like I'm all finished. Let's get hosting. You know what I mean? Like or whatever. And
the whole scene where Charlotte comes to her house and she sees her ex-husband and. That whole scene was really weird to me. Because she just walks in the door and she's like, "Who are you and how'd you get in here?" He's like, "I lived here for 8 years." She's like, "All right, cool." And then immediately starts giving him a hand job. And you're like, what the shit just happened?
You guys want me to blow your minds?
I mean, Dustin,
blow our minds.
You guys I was going to save it for my video tomorrow, but we're live right now.
Here we go. What do you got?
So the Riddles of the Sphinx is the best episode in the series, and it's season 2, episode 4. And we're showing the fidelity test where William goes back in there, and Delos is like, "I'm ready to get out in the real world, William boy, I'm back." Right. And he's like, "Fuck you, I'm not letting you out. You're crazy, man." Like that. Maybe in a couple years we'll be good. And it makes it, and William. His wife committed suicide because he wasn't there in the relationship. Like she wasn't getting affection, which makes me think that the only person that would overreact in that situation to try to save it, like a blown cover, would be William.
Yeah, that makes sense. That works. Yeah.
Gotta check in with your partner.
Yeah.
But because look at the after credit scene in season. Do you guys see the after credit scene after the season 2 finale? Where he goes down into the forge.
Yeah, for sure, totally.
She says that their world has been destroyed, but he's not in the simulation, right? So if he's not in the simulation, then he's a human house hybrid or some shit. So that connects exactly with what we're talking about, I think.
Right. Oh, and I am getting one little thing I'm going to put up on screen real quick. This is from Frank. He's one of our dudes who's joined us a bunch on some of our live streams. And I got to say, this is a pretty funny thing. Frank is from Germany, and he wanted to say, I know you guys are 2 episodes ahead. We're here in Germany, but to be honest, the first episode had some problems. As a German, their German is a mess.
That's awesome.
I wonder, like, that's got to be pretty cool. I mean, do you speak French, Kyle, by the way? Are you bilingual?
Yeah.
Hell yeah. So as an ignorant American, not being able to speak 2 languages, like, I'm always just like, the fact that anybody can even be like, stroke their chin at all and be like, yeah, that's not, that's not quite doing it. That's not how people would say it or whatever it is. It's always impressed by, but anyway, thanks a lot for joining us, Frank.
I feel bad for the Germans because what is it? That downfall meme doesn't work for them. It's like Hitler rants about the finale of Game of Thrones, and the Germans are like.
And the whole time they're actually hearing the crazy, horrible shit that he's saying. Yeah, totally.
I'm sorry to Germany. You poor
right? Yeah, totally.
Hilarious.
They probably think we're dumbasses because we love that meme. You know what I mean?
I know.
Yeah,
I probably think we're dumbasses for many reasons.
Yeah, that's true. yeah. One of many, for fucking sure. Oh, man. So, I mean, like, because other people have thrown out Charlotte being Teddy, which they throw that out there, but he destroyed his pearl. He can't come back. He's out, right?
He's in the land beyond him.
Yeah. He went to Valhalla. Or
That's
whatever.
Right. He went on the Rainbow Bridge.
Out
of there for sure. Yeah, totally.
Teddy's like one of the few that got a happy end, like him and Maeve's daughter, and
that's
like where
true.
they're all trying to get to. I mean, that's where Maeve's trying to get to.
Right.
So.
Right. Yeah, totally.
That's why I was like, oh, it can't be Teddy because he's in Happy Land.
Yeah, right. Yeah, he's actually he has an end to his story that we actually all are like pretty cool and down with. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Dolores only read so many books in the Forge. Like she read Carl Strand. She read the book on the guy Carl Krushtman or whatever his name was, the mega executive, the guy with the glasses in the first episode.
Right.
I don't remember. Like I went back and I couldn't tell. It's just
sure. Yeah, I know. We didn't really. I mean, like I would have been if I were her. I would have been studying up for a hot minute, man. Get all the info that I can before I rolled out. You know what I mean? So
she's got her in-ear, assistant that can get her all the info she needs, so she's fine. Her in-ear Siri.
Yeah, I know. I actually love that. That whole thing. That's so cool. Again, that's another very kind of a Matrixy like type of vibe. You know what I mean? Like where it's just like, even though it's not like abilities, but just like things that you need, literal materials. Like when she meets up with Charlotte in the hotel room, which was a really just like a well played scene. Like I not to keep going back to it, but I can't speak highly enough of Tessa Thompson's performance in this role. You know what I mean? Like she did such a good job, and like that whole, again, that kind of with that whole unease of being a host, that I think that's a very telling type of a thing, because she's revealing the cuts on her arm and everything like that, and how she's been hurting herself, and it's like she's trying to claw. It's like they're trying to claw out. I'm trying to claw out of me or something like that. I thought that was a fucking chilling scene for sure. And then the weird vibes continued with the "You Belong to Me" thing, which again, like, is just
tipping it in the William favor.
I think so.
Yeah,
I think so for fucking sure.
So I think there's a small chance there's Dolores and Arnold is in, because like Arnold is in Dolores because. Dolores says, I know you better than anyone. And he actually says that in a conversation in the basement when they're talking. When they have their sit downs on the chair. Yeah. So I think that's a possibility, because Bernard could be Bernard. Like there could be two Bernards essentially.
Yeah. There could be Arnold, and there's Arnold and Bernard. Basically.
With these heckin' pearls, anyone could be anyone. Why did they explain why Bernard got a special colored pearl?
He did have a
little red one, and everyone else's were all the same color.
That's true.
I was like, why did he get a special cherry flavor one?
He got the pearl that came with the U2 album.
Oh.
Remember the red one that came with the YouTube album pre-downloaded? That big fucking scam that happened like eons ago or whatever.
God.
Oh my lord. What I think the other big cool revelation, because the thing is, like, they're trying to find out. Insofar as like with Caleb and all of that stuff, I did like the scene a lot, and it played to Aaron Paul's strengths as a actor when that scene in obviously because, like, there's all these cool action beats with there was like all that cool stuff that happened with the ambulance and everything like that, and it's just like Aaron Paul's like, man, I have the weirdest fear boner that I could possibly imagine right now. Like, after he watches Dolores just like lay waste to these dudes and then roll out. But once she like basically kind of hangs out with him, rescues him, I felt it so hard for his little his little construction. Yeah, his construction robot buddy.
I almost started crying.
George is his name.
Yeah,
Was it George? Oh my God.
Matters. Honestly, because no other death matters, because they're just hosts and they come right back. So, like, the stakes are kind of like, whatever, Maeve's going to die and come back again and die. Well, it's like playing a video game where you're like, I'm going to respawn in 5 minutes. But that robot was dead, and he was just trying to help.
Can they fix him?
I hope so.
No, he's dead.
He's shattered. He was into a million pieces when he went in there. Because I thought that he was going to, like, what I thought was going to happen, at least in that scene, that Dolores was going to like hack into.
That's what I thought too.
Did you think that, Kyle?
No, because Dolores was such a badass. She had a gun.
She's like, no, I actually
you like my
have
pump? You like my pump fake there?
Right? Yeah, totally.
Yeah, no. It would have been cool though, because we saw Maeve enter. She was in that other drone, which we're going to talk about after.
Yeah, totally. But I remember that was a cool scene. She rescues him, and then they kind of have like this fucking date or whatever it is. She takes him to like that diner scene, and I think it really that scene specifically plays to Aaron Paul's strength as a performer, as like this roiling kind of like rage that's just kind of simmering underneath and kind of is waiting to kind of explode and express itself.
On that note, that's like the most fucked up Tinder date of all time. Like you meet this like super hot chick and you're like, yeah, we're gonna go on this Tinder date, and she's like, oh, I know exactly where we're gonna go. You're probably hungry, and you're like, yeah, I'm pretty hungry. She's like, you want a burger? I'm like, yeah, I could go for a burger. She's like, here's a burger and a milkshake that reminds me of your mom who left you. And you're like, what the fuck? How did you know that? And then she's like, I'm gonna take you to this beautiful, cool pier. And you're like, oh, this pier's really sick. She's like, yeah, this is where you kill yourself in 12 years. You're like, what in the hell is wrong with you?
Right. Yeah. I mean, when you look like Dolores does, that's a spoonful of sugar that makes.
I'd still go for it. I'd still hook up with her.
Right. But
you know what's crazy about that too? Is after William kills his daughter in season 2, he tries to kill himself and doesn't shoot himself in the head, which makes like the connection between Caleb and William is so crazy too. Finding those things everywhere. And I actually think like when Dolores is presenting him the tablet, what she doesn't know is she's actually the reason he's going to do it.
Oh shit!
I mean,
yeah,
because in that situation, the title is called "The Absence of Field."
Right.
And in that situation, he says, "You're the realest thing that's ever happened to me in a long time."
Which is a weird statement.
But what he doesn't know is that's the absence. Like, I don't know if she's genuinely heartfelt. Like, we don't know if that's genuineness, right? So that's why I'm like, sorry.
Right. No. I was gonna say, what did you guys think about that specific line in that read? It was definitely like, I don't know if it was meant to, because the guy is like in a very, very precarious, place within his life and everything like that, and so maybe he's just kind of been, he's like, I'm in kind of like the crime gig economy. I got fucking, I got crime Uber, you know what I mean, and I'll fucking go on and make some money for my mom when I have to, but I'm kind of like, I'm like a drone. I'm just kind of. Yeah. I'm just on autopilot, and this, kind of literally like a life or death kind of scenario that he gets thrown into, Dolores kind of rejogs him. So I can understand it from his point of view. Does she feel it? I know that she feels probably like, oh, you're one of the good ones, but is she do you think they're going to become like actually emotionally invested in some way? Do you think that's going to happen?
I mean, I could see it. I don't know yet because Dolores is kind of an enigma, and she just met the dude. She knows vaguely that he has like he's a good egg.
Yeah,
but I think it's gonna take a little bit more. Like, I don't know. She's not looking to date right now. She's trying to start a revolution. And she's gonna recruit.
Right.
She's gonna recruit the humans who like have a moral code.
Yeah.
And then, I don't know. I don't know if this is a sexy romantic thing yet.
Sure. I mean, well, I see her as in. I mean, Dolores is more of in like a hit it and quit it kind of type of mode. She's like, listen, like. You're Aaron Paul. You look really emotionally intense. I bet you could dick me down real good if and when I need it. And then we'll get to the revolution.
So is he kind of like her Jorah? Like he's
he might be her Jorah. Maybe
I like that.
You know what's really crazy is they're experiencing some of the same things. I actually think it's a yes. I think it's going to be the same realization that William had with Dolores when he was like, oh shit. When he truly became the Man in Black. I rewatched the episode today before we were going to do this, and I feel like Caleb is the human mirror to Dolores. He is experiencing with his mother the same thing she experienced with her father. Remember, he was going through like the robot schizophrenia.
Oh yeah.
Also, Dolores was put on a loop by Arnold. Remember when the whole Wyatt thing was going down, where she had to kill herself, and then she had flashes back to that, and William was the one who woke her up from that.
Right.
So that's similar as well. The whole Teddy PTSD thing too. So there is like tons happening there. And I think it's like the inverse of what happened with William when William realized he fell in love with a host.
Sure. I mean, well, that's a really interesting dichotomy for sure. I mean, like, and also the fact that he kind of, he's doting over his mother the same way that Dolores was doting over her sick father and in the homestead in season 1 and stuff like that. Maybe it's like, cause she kind of, was essentially sort of like the patient zero for what kind of unfurled the park. Maybe he's obviously going to be like the human patient zero for what unfurls the real world, it seems like. One thing that William and Caleb have in common is the mouth thing. There's a trailer, the drip, that thing where they inject Caleb and they take control of him. Yeah,
and that's for humans only. So I find that really interesting. I don't know. There's just a lot of parallels between the two. Sorry, Dustin. I knew you were going to say something there.
Right.
Oh no, that's right.
No,
my dog was
nice. So
that live stream.
Doesn't Dolores also say we have no mother and father now to Charlotte in the scene where they're talking about the pearls? I have to teach you who you have to pretend to be. Yeah, that's an interesting one too, to deal with the whole mother-father theme in the episode.
Yeah, I mean, or definitely where it's we've kind of been, their ties to the former things that are kind of holding them down have kind of been severed, and they're able to kind of make their own future in this world and stuff like that. I think that's kind of what that probably speaks to. If it's literally I don't know how literal I could read into it, but I'm sure there's some angle. You know what I mean? And then I think the last kind of big revelation that I thought was interesting was Charlotte meeting Serac and that whole scene I thought was cool. We find out that
sort of meeting him.
Right.
Hologram.
Because does he even exist, or is he? I don't know.
Right. I mean, that's the other thing. I mean, who knows? I mean, because we've seen he's only been. I mean, I guess we could assume that he was staying there because it was in his house when Maeve met him. He was a hologram in the scene where he met up with Charlotte, but we find out that she's essentially been facilitating. She's the in. She's the mole. You know what I mean? We're kind of, which I thought was like a nice twist, not unexpected. I sort of was just like, oh yeah.
When they were saying there's a mole, I'm like, oh no, it was Charlotte. I don't know. Immediately, I was assuming that that's where they were going with it, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess I feel like wouldn't they have been able to find a way, like Dolores has hacked into the thing? Wouldn't Dolores know that Charlotte was the mole, or am I just
maybe
overthinking Dolores's power?
Huh? Maybe. Hey,
I was like, how did Charlotte not know, or how did Dolores not like tell Charlotte that she was the mole, or like wouldn't Dolores know? She knows everything else, but
sure. Yeah, I don't know. We had a couple people say it. So the what was the other thing? Okay, well now we can kind of talk about a couple of things that I thought were indicative of like where the show's going to go. Number one, the biggest, I don't know if you call it like a red herring, but it was like a Chekhov's robot, Chekhov's Ed 209, with those big riot control robots that they showed. Some shit is going to go down with those things. What are we thinking?
I mean, of course, it's Dolores's army.
Yeah, right. I mean, like,
it's gotta be.
Yeah, I was thinking. I mean, like, I was definitely getting like some RoboCop vibes from that whole scene.
Also, Charlotte's outfit was color coordinated to the robots, which I thought was pretty rad.
Oh, so she's gonna be the general in the war.
Right, totally. That was like, and what I'm thinking is, I'm just like, because they kind of looked like kind of boxy and utilitarian and kind of, they looked very similar to George, to the robot that Caleb like has, and so I'm thinking maybe she's just like, hey, like, I mean, I'm sure that she'd be able to program and control them, but do you think that Caleb is going to maybe come into play with those things at all? That's what I was thinking. I'm thinking Caleb was like, I think they said that there was like 300 of them. So I'm thinking like Caleb was like 300 fucking Ed 209s at his back, like rolling in. That would be fucking amazing.
This show likes to like show parallels and repeat themes. So when we first meet him, he has his little robot buddy.
Mm-hmm.
So I could see the show taking that, like, oh, isn't it sweet? His little coworker who like is his friend and tries to save him and dies trying to save him.
Right.
And then all of a sudden it's terrifying because he has like actual like murder bots. I did have one little detailed bone to pick. They were selling them to, where were they selling them to? What country?
Saudi Arabia.
Why wasn't because like the design is important, right? When you design riot robots.
Morgan, can we take a minute? You guys are sounding like a transformer over there.
I don't know how to fix that.
Okay.
I tried turning it down. I don't know what else to do.
Okay. All right.
Plug in, plug out. Is that an option?
Sure.
Or USB it?
Sure.
Give me a second.
Yeah.
No, do your thing, but yeah, no, those robots. Yeah, we'll take a beat. We'll take a minute. Right, we'll talk with Kyle. So, what do you think? I'm thinking that's going to be the big action beat of the season. I think. Like, what are you thinking?
Yeah, it's really interesting because that's the scene where Charlotte's kind of Delos' partner there is telling them that someone is buying up the stock, right? And we know that William obviously had a huge amount of power at Delos. He kind of eradicated the Delos family.
Yeah, dude.
So that's kind of a thing, and we don't know if he's that private investor at the table. That's what I'm assuming is the case there.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Serac is trying to buy them up, and that would be really interesting because that would be really interesting if that happened. But one thing I think we got to consider too is Maeve. She was the one that was able to control motor functions. I think it was her and Clementine, and was able to control other robots. And we see a showdown between her and Dolores after, so she could be a factor in that too. I actually think that Dolores is going to be in a lot more trouble than she realizes.
You think she's going to maybe possibly like kind of get in? Yeah, I feel like if they just kind of work towards this big crescendo like I don't think that like we've talked about, me and the Draces have talked about this before, but we don't necessarily think that it's going to just lead up to like this battle between like Maeve and Dolores. I think that maybe they'll cross each other's paths like early, or like maybe like in the midpoint or something like that, and then the plot's going to diverge a little bit. I don't think it's just leading up to like this big battle.
Do you think crazy that Maeve will kind of join sides with Dolores to go against Serac?
It could. There could be. I mean, like there's a lot of espionage going on in this show. So I wouldn't be surprised if they tried to. But I mean, like certainly, I think that Maeve is going to not be so so ready to just like take on Dolores. You know what I'm saying? Because I think she has just as much disdain for maybe even more disdain for the people that aren't non-host, and I guess let's call them organics or something.
Sure.
But yeah, that was I think was an alliance that could start.
Here's why I think she's in a lot of trouble. Are you guys familiar with the story of Icarus in Greek mythology?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
In the opening sequence, we see that bird flying into the jet engine and also in the sun. I can't and then it turns into Rehoboam. I can't help but feel like Dolores might overreach a little bit, and she might think that there's something about that mythology, because the thing too is the maze. In the scene where she's choosing to feel pain in the underpass with Caleb, if you look closely on the wall, there's a symbol of the man in the maze right near them.
Oh, no shit.
Oh, I missed that.
So I'm wondering if that's her maze this season, if she gets, because I think what's going to happen is they're going to draw her in with William in some sort of honeypot or Caleb.
There we go.
I could totally believe that it's so William's inside Charlotte and he's gonna switch sides, and it won't be a Maeve versus Dolores. It's gonna be more of Dolores versus the Men in Black, even though some of their goals align, but there's gonna be a point. But also, it is true, like, because Dolores is she's just like walking through the world with all the cheat codes right now. So they have to have her like
taken down a peg
a little bit, or just have some sort of
right. Or it's almost like maybe they're almost having similar to Thrones, like a point where like Drogon does take an arrow. Like it's not going to be just so easy just to take down this system. You know what I mean?
You know what's crazy too is Serac and Rehoboam they can't account for Dolores. Like she's that divergence. You guys see the the white Rehoboam trailer where there's all those like little blips and it shows the divergences. It shows there's a nuclear attack.
That's going to be an interesting. There's I'm calling it right now. There's definitely going to be like a point in time in the season where like that sphere is just going to look like a porcupine, like where chaos is going to be going crazy. You know what I mean? We're going to be in code red.
Well, it would be interesting because in the William Ford scene, Emily says their world is destroyed.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah,
I think something really bad is going to happen at the end of the season, and it's just I don't know, because Serac and Rehoboam can't find Dolores. But if Dolores is inside Hale, she's right in front of Serac in that scene at the end of the episode.
That's true.
And if Dolores is controlling William or whoever is in that body, then they're really close. It's almost, you ever seen the movie The Departed where the mole's looking for the mole?
Oh yeah, of course.
That's what's happening in that scene, I feel like. Yeah. So they're really close to finding each other, and I think it's going to happen in the next
Right. Episode. I mean, well, that means shit. That just makes me want to bring. That's like the kind of like that's like a crossover that I want to see, where it's like we get like a bunch of like Boston WestWorld dudes like coming in. It's like, I fucking told you that we were going to be fucking coming over here, and now you got all these hosts running a fucking muck over here in Suffolkstown, right?
Just give Bill Burr some more work.
Yeah, Bill Burr on WestWorld, please.
I would love Bill Burr on WestWorld. That would be fucking amazing. It's like, so Billy Redface.
He's confirmed for season 2 of The Mandalorian again.
Oh, nice. you know that crew's coming.
I saw that. Yeah.
I love that shit. That's so great. I mean, that was so delightful, just because I think there's anybody on record in stand-up that I can think of that went on record more times saying how much they hated Star Wars than Bill Burr, and then he fucking lands a part in like the coolest Star Wars property in years. You know, I thought that was hilarious. So here's one thing: do we see Charlotte betraying Dolores? Do we see that happen?
No, I think that's going to happen.
Yeah, you think that she's going to be like, "Listen, you're no better than the people that we were trying to escape," or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how it's going to happen, but
even if she's a host, she probably she might not even be a host if the whole Wyatt Wayne thing is in there.
Oh no, I don't know how it's going to happen, but I just feel in my bones that Dolores and whoever is in Charlotte whenever two characters have this thing like we are connected, we belong to each other.
It's never good.
It's never ends in like happiness and rainbows. Like
that's like Peter Parker talking to Gwen Stacy, being like, "I love you and I can't wait to spend the rest of my life with you." And it's like,
it's something.
Yeah, definitely. So I guess kind of winding down, I mean, like, where do you think, okay, here's another thing, because we saw that trailer, and I know that you've talked a lot about this, Kyle. Where is the Man in Black? Is he dead? Is he in a simulation? There's like a weird party going on that kind of looks like it's in the same spot. He kind of looks like he's like in like Ozymandias in HBO's Watchmen, like he's kind of going crazy in his like little castle or something like that. What do you think's going on with all that, Kyle?
He's definitely in prison or a mental hospital. So I think there's two scenarios. Mm-hmm. One is he's captured by Serac and Rehoboam, and I actually think he might be. You guys watched the trailer, right?
Yeah.
I actually think he might be responsible for that nuclear explosion in Paris.
Interesting.
Ooh.
Interesting. Oh,
who gave him nukes?
Right.
Now, let's say that is the case. Then he would be in prison with Rehoboam. They would have information on him. But Serac is still looking like they don't have the whole book on him because like the Forge like has all those books that Dolores was looking at, and Serac doesn't have that. That's why he can't account for everything.
Right.
However, if it's Dolores that's doing it, wouldn't it be sweet if she made him relive his wife's suicide like we see him in the bathtub scene and shit like that? Oh my
God. That's so cruel.
She's just being like so sadistic this season.
Well, let me pose this question to you. What if she approaches him with a deal and says, "I want you to help me take down Rehoboam"? Because the Man in Black is like when people talked about him in philanthropy, he was genuinely seen as a good guy.
Right.
But then he went to WestWorld and he played the villain and he did all these violent things, right? And then he treated Dolores violently. Then we find out before his wife's suicide, he was even honest with her. He's like, "Listen, I wasn't a good husband." Like, and even in the scene in episode 4 with Lawrence, remember when he kills his wife in the first season? He doesn't kill her that time. So he shows the ability to change throughout his storyline. And I think that Dolores is going to see that and say, "Hey, like, let's take down Rehoboam." But whether he takes that or not is the question. And I think the offer that he's going to get from her is he's going to be like, "Fuck you. I fucking hate robots," or whatever. And then,
Grant Harris impression there, Kyle. I like that.
But when that happens, she's going to see that he has the ability to change because of how much suffering he had. Like, she's going to see the fidelity test as kind of like work with William. So I think those are the two scenarios. Like, Serac either has him or Dolores has him. Like,
right, or maybe you can kind of see because it seems like he's walking around this thing. Because I do agree that he is kind of imprisoned in some way. You know what I mean? Like, I don't really exactly know how or why. I mean, like, he might be in a simulation. He might not be. He might literally just be like in a house or something. Yeah. But he's like walking around all this like broken glass and these kind of very strange kind of like, you know, interesting like lens flares and all these weird visuals and stuff like that. And I at the very least, I do think that he's going to be, I don't know how much of a a big narrative thread he's going to play. I mean, like maybe because that would be interesting if that would be interesting if he almost became like a Hannibal Lecter, like Dolores goes back to like talk with him and stuff like that every once. You know what I mean? Like, because they have a very complex relationship.
In every single scene in every single trailer, he's wearing white.
Yeah,
not a single piece of black. Right,
totally. So he's kind of he's been stripped of certainly at least of that kind of agency within that storyline where he is like been knocked down to the. Maybe she just wants him to feel as helpless as she felt, like going through all of it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, hey, what's going on, Gandalf? Everybody say hi. Everybody say hi to Gandalf, right?
Hi. Gandalf, the white right now because he's clean.
Right, totally. So I know that you're uploading. It's April 1st. It's April.
Okay, let's get into it.
It's April Fools. But I want to say, like, has anybody seen? Even though today is not a great time to be playing practical jokes because literally anything is fucking possible. It seems like in the news right now. Did we see anything that was good? Morgan, you were saying something about April Fools?
I was mad because I thought we all agreed that April Fools is canceled this year. Like we don't get it this year. But I got like an email from this like clothing company that I really like that makes really goofy clothing. And they're like, ooh, we're doing a Joe Exotic line. And I was like, that actually would be awesome as long as that dude doesn't get any money. But if they're just like ripping off Joe Exotic shit, I don't have any money, so I won't be able to buy it. But I wanted to see what it was. And they're like, April Fools. And I'm like, we agreed that we canceled it. And I know that
not cool, guys.
I know
not
that
cool.
one was innocuous.
Have you seen Tiger King at all, Kyle? Have you checked out that show yet?
My friends were showing me a couple of clips earlier, and they said it's season 9 of Game of Thrones.
I'll tell you what,
interested.
Yeah,
Carol Baskins is a total Danny.
Yeah.
She's a total Danny.
I tell you what that one bitch Carol Baskins want to do down there. She wants to break the goddamn wheel. Let me tell you.
I may have to check it out just because so many people are talking about it. But not
Yeah.
It is. I say it is fucking inescapable. The meme game that this thing is fucking created, like on social media, it's amazing. Like obviously, if you get it, it's incredible. But it is like. It is so like
just for the memes.
It's so good for the memes. You know what I mean?
Also, Kyle, if you want like some real American culture, like just distilled American culture shot right into your vein.
Yeah.
Like it is the most American nonsense.
Okay.
Yeah. It's like I'm trying to think of like a good it's like Americana for the 21st century.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I'm actually an avid follower of your politics.
Yes, you are.
I won't say much because I respect Bernie Sanders and I also respect Joe Biden. I both think that they would do an infinite better job than Mango Mussolini.
Absolutely. Ooh, that's a new one. I haven't heard that one.
That's a nice one.
Yeah, that's a good one, man.
Except for the fact that I really like Mango White Claw.
I'm not religious, but I sincerely pray for you guys.
That's true.
I know.
And we appreciate it, and we can fucking use it. I remember the one that definitely the one that I saw today that just made me just freeze, like in my tracks or whatever. Is I'm going through, it's like I think it was a Chicago publication. I can't remember which one, but it's one that I've read a couple of times. It's fairly reputable and stuff like that. And our governor, who is a little unsure if I voted for him, but I was just like, we'll see what this guy does. He's been doing a really fucking cool. I've been happy with him lately.
Yeah.
Governor Pritzker, but it did say it was this big ass headline that said booze. Governor Pritzker suspends all alcohol sales in the state of Illinois.
I saw they did a Lori Lightfoot one too, where they were Lori Lightfoot says all alcohol is canceled on April 1st.
Right. Yeah, Lori Lightfoot is the mayor of Chicago.
She's the mayor of Chicago.
And we're just like, what are you talking about? That can't happen, especially in this house, especially on this channel. Hell no.
No, I'm mad at whoever did those because we agreed. We agreed. We're going through a shit right now. We don't need the stress of tricks on top of everything else.
Yeah. Oh my God. If Lori Lightfoot, if our mayor were to, if she were to ban alcohol, she would become the Carol Baskins of Chicago.
Oh my God.
We're just gonna have to reopen all those underground tunnels, and those speakeasies are coming right back. We're going to Green Mill. It's gonna be Al Capone all over again. We've already done it once. We're doing it again.
Totally. How about you, Kyle? Did you see? I know that you're. Well, I don't know if I must have, but have you seen any good April Fools headlines today or anything like that got you for a second?
No, just my friend's Facebook group. I started a Witcher podcast with Aziz from History Westeros, and I went to go check. It's called the Witcher Addicts on Facebook, and she said she was closing down the group because there was like too much political talk. I got totally punked with that.
Oh no.
And I'm an idiot because I'm literally making an April Fool's Westworld video. And I'm
like at this moment,
right?
No, but I haven't seen too much other than some great people on Reddit were putting out some great Westworld Westworld theories that Charlotte Hale was Dolores' horse or Robert Ford's dog.
I know. Yeah, we're almost.
If there's a Westeros world in the Westworld universe, can Hodor, who's a horse? Didn't they say that Hodor was a horse? And Charlotte Hale, who's also a horse, can go be friends.
Yeah, they can go be homies and stuff like that. They could just go graze. They could go graze the Westworld plains and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Yeah. That would be that I would be. And plus, and they'd also have great conversations. It'd be how would you pronounce Hodor in horse? It would be like.
So I remember those theories last year, and I was like, "Oh my God!"
Yeah, they're all coming back because of the Drogon in the room. It's like they could exist. What if in Westworld they just season 4 is just a really good ending to Game of Thrones?
Yeah, totally. It's I'll tell you one thing. It's it turns out that it was the Man in Black warred into Lightbringer, and that is what's happening. And his venomous spirit is the one that's going to ignite the flame of Lightbringer and cause the destruction of the Night King. Even though
I'm saying Dany burned that entire when it seemed hey, why'd she burn all those innocents when they didn't do anything? Oh, it's just because she was a host, she was a guest.
Yeah.
She was just some rich lady from Westworld, and then who just always wanted to burn people alive.
That changes. No. Dany, it being Westerosi world changes that scene a lot because she's just she's
burning robots.
She's burning either robots or she's burning dickhead fucking tourists. You know what I mean? So it's totally cool. You know what I mean?
It's all fine.
Hey, anything inexplicable that happened in season 8, you can just explain away. Where it's oh no, that was just a guest living their fantasy.
I love it.
Speaking of timing, I just pressed the launch button on my Charlotte Hale is Drogon button, so I'll put it in the chat.
You gotta go check it out. Anyway,
I thought it was properly timed since we were talking about Dany.
I love it. Well, I mean, on that note.
Before we sign off here, Kyle, I know you're a big Witcher fan, and I was the first of us to jump on the Witcher train. I got Morgan on the Witcher train. And I had actually never played the video games, and it was on sale today for $12 for Witcher 3 on PlayStation. So I haven't played it yet today, but I just downloaded it. So I'm ready to watch season 2, having played the game. I'm real excited about that.
So Witcher 3: The Wild Hunt is the one you got?
Yeah,
that's actually in my Xbox as we speak. It
was on sale I was like, you know what? I've got time. I got nothing but time.
So when the Witcher 3 season dropped, the sale. So remember when the Red Wedding happened and George R. R. Martin sold he sold 20 more million books because of Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
The same thing kind of happened with Andrzej Sapkowski and The Last Wish.
Oh, sure.
there was 2 extra million books sold, and I actually did a giveaway on my channel, and I couldn't find it on any American Amazon or book site. Like they were all sold out, and it was the same with The Witcher 3. 20 million copies or 15 million extra copies were sold.
Shit,
dude, I'm telling you, that is probably the best adventure game ever made.
Well, I'm excited to play it. So yeah, we'll have plenty of extra content to talk about when that season drops. And
I know if you guys ever want to chat The Witcher, hell yeah, on Twitter.
You can invite us. Sean hasn't been sold yet. You're gonna have to sell it.
No. That's what I gotta do. I gotta get on the new Jumanji movies. I gotta get on Happy Death Day. And I gotta get on The Witcher. I think not after this week, but the next week after, I'm gonna give it a go.
I'll tell you guys what. If any of you guys want the audiobooks, I have the first 3, or anyone in your community wants them, just let me know. You can all listen to them. I was gonna offer getting you guys the books. I just don't know how long it would take to get to you guys. So if anybody is interested in that, the Draces, you, Sean, or anybody in the chat who watches this after that likes The Witcher, just message me, Sean, and I'll
was looking into doing because I have an Audible subscription, but I just didn't know where to start with the books because they're stories, and then there's a proper book series too. So I don't even know where to start.
Right.
So this one is there's The Last Wish is the short stories, and then there's another one called Sword of Destiny, which is the second set of short stories, and then there's the first novel called Blood of Elves, which you see kind of at the end of the season where
I just dipped my toe with the short stories.
Yeah. Right.
Man, but that's why season 1 was a little confusing, because the short stories are not chronologically linked. They're just kind of told everywhere. Totally. But I'm really glad they did them, because if they didn't, it would make it the Lesser Evil story, the Striga story, that stuff's really important, and kind of how Geralt's worldview is shaped. So,
hold on.
We better get to another discussion on this another time, or I won't.
Yeah, we'll do a whole other video.
Well, we gotta throw this one out to Gabe though. It's the next time we do an online DJ set, we gotta do a toss a coin to your Witcher. I'm sure that there's a ton of fucking remixes of that. But so what as wrapping up, this has been super fun. We thank you so much for joining us, Kyle. This was fucking great. And I just wanted to say that if you want to get a killer April Fool's laugh, you got to go over, because you just dropped a video, did you not, Kyle?
Yeah, no, I just I think I dropped the link. Yeah, I'll get it again for you guys.
Hell yeah.
I literally just dropped the Drogon and Charlotte Hail Theory video.
I love it. I can't wait I cannot wait to watch it after this.
Amazing.
But we're real glad to have you, Kyle, and I'm definitely looking forward to doing it again. Welcome everybody to Witcher Wednesday season 3.
Witcher. He just April fooled himself.
We're rolling out to Witcher WestWorld Wednesday. It's all one big goulash.
Good old Witcher world.
It's always good to cover a show in season, of course, because of visibility. But if you guys want to continue with the W on the Wednesday, I'm cool with The Witcher. So
man. Maybe we should probably when season 2 drops, or leading up to season 2, we should definitely do some Witcher
now.
Dude. Oh God, that's right. That is one of those things. All these movies and shows that we're oh yeah, that's coming out next year. Nope. No, it's not. All the movies and shit that are coming out this year are kind of waiting. It's everything's sort of on a bit of a pause. You know what I mean? But thanks a lot for joining us on WestWorld Wednesdays. Weekly things, we're going to be doing them every Wednesday from 5:30. Basically for about an hour, from 5:30 Central, 6:30 Eastern. You're on Eastern time, right?
Yeah, I'm on Eastern time.
Okay, yeah. So 5:30 Central, 6:30 Eastern. If you want to check us out over there, we really appreciate y'all. And I mean, shit, man. I can't wait to see what's gonna. I've actually kind of missed Ed Harris a little bit, as much as he had an interesting storyline, but he became so one note. I'm definitely looking forward to him exploring a different element of the Man in Black. I
actually think he's the main protagonist of the story.
Shit! I love it.
Oh, man, I cannot wait till next week to talk to you about it.
All right, man. Well, anyway, we appreciate y'all out there in YouTube and Facebook land. Make sure you go over to Azor Ahype, give them a follow, give them a subscribe, check out our Patrons and everything like that. We just want to say thank y'all for joining us, and we will talk to y'all later. Bye, guys.
Bye, everybody.